Jesus said, "Man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." You're listening to Daily Truth.
For anyone who might think that God is somehow harsh when it comes to his judgment, a couple things to think about in that regard. You might say, okay, well, I get that people have sinned against God, and I get that he's holy, and I understand that people deserve some kind of judgment, some kind of consequence, some kind of wrath from God, but why does it have to be eternal? And this is why. Part of that deals with the degree of our sin. See, when we look at our own sin, we never see our sin at the degree of severity that it truly is. And the reason why we can't view our sin correctly is because we're sinful. That's the irony. We're so sinful, we can't even view our sin rightly. We view our sin sinfully because we're sinners. That's the way we could say it. We view our sin sinfully because we're sinners. So for one, we're not accurately measuring the degree of our rebellion against God. So when we think that, well, it seems a bit harsh, that's because you're a sinner. And of course you're not as grieved by perversion as a thrice holy God is grieved by perversion. You're not as grieved by perversion as God is because you're a pervert. That's why. Right? The same way, just for a moment to get real, the same way that a pedophile on trial being condemned and found guilty will look at the sentence for their crime and say, it feels a bit harsh, whereas the rest of the jury and the public and everyone else in the courthouse watching the trial would say, harsh? You're a pedophile. What's wrong with you? It's not harsh. If anything, it should be stronger. But they don't get it. Why? Because their mind is so warped. The same kind of corruption and deception that led them to commit that crime against the public in the first place is the very same corruption and deception that would cause them not to be able to see the seriousness of that crime. And so it is with us. Now, for those of us who are redeemed, we're able to see spiritual things more clearly in light of Christ, with new spiritual eyes and spiritual ears to hear, new hearts that are softened and malleable, the heart of stone having been removed and the heart of flesh now in its place. We can see more clearly, but as long as we're in this life, this side of glory, Romans chapter 7 says that sin still resides within the members of our being, even for the Christian. And because of that, we see clearly to an extent, but not perfectly clear. The Apostle Paul says this. He says, for now we see dimly as in a mirror, but not fully. And that has to do with us seeing, in specific context, he's talking about us seeing the Lord. So there's a sense in which we don't see God fully, not fully. That doesn't mean we have no sight. God wrote us a book. He wants to be known, and it's a fairly large book. It's not a small pamphlet. So there's a lot that we can see clearly about God, especially those of us who are Christians and have the word illuminated by the Holy Spirit, but still, even for the Christian, we do not see perfectly clear. And we don't see God perfectly clear, and by way of consequence, in not seeing God perfectly clear, we don't see our sin perfectly clear.
Wait. Real quick, before you go, do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell so you'll be notified with all our new content as it comes out on a daily basis. And if you're willing to support this ministry, you can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thanks so much. God bless.